Aloha and welcome to Manifesting Your DPS. I can show you better than I can tell you. I'm your host, Coach David B. Rich, and this is the podcast that really brings to life what it means to be in a state of manifestation, to be able to attract the things that you want to your life. And I am so excited today to have my dear friend, I call him Ke'o, but his name is Ke'o Kahala. And he is doing so many phenomenal things in this society and throughout Hawaii and the world. And he has a vision that is, when we sit down and talk, we talk for hours because of what he is doing in his life and how he is making a difference in the lives of others. And so today he's going to be talking about some of the businesses that he has, some of the things that has been his passion, and how these are creating value for the lives of other people. And so this is great to have you here, brother. It's so nice to have you on board.
Thank you so much.
I talked about having you with us before. We sit back and we have conversations all the time. And we talk about our dreams, we talk about passions, we talk about how you want to live your life, what you want your life to look. And the reason that I love talking to you is because of the fact that you are a visionary. And you have that vision of what it is that you want in the future, and then you start doing the work now. And there's been things that you've been working on for a long, long time in your own life. You've been doing the hats, and you've been just working on so many different projects, but for many years, you've been a paramedic, you've been on with the fire department, and this is a sacrifice in itself of service. And so your life, like so many people, is a life of service. So share some of that with us and what it is, and we'll just jump in and tell them, wherever you want to start, whether you, with the passion that you have for creating the hats and the opportunity and where that came from, the passion that got you doing the services with the city and helping as a paramedic, and how you are serving others, and the passion that you have for expanding your own life outside of what you do for a job, but how you create the opportunities that you have created and that you're looking to create.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me onto the show. Kavika, I've known you for a few years now, and I really appreciate it. I'm very honored to be here. My name is Ke'o, and I'm 43 years old, I think. I tell everybody after 30, it doesn't really matter, right? But yes, I'm a paramedic for 23 years, going on 24. I'm also a weaver, a lauhala weaver, as he was referring to. I weave everything from hats to mats, fans, baskets, you name it. I'm a third generation lauhala weaver. So my father's my teacher, or my kumu. And that was my first route of getting into culture first, and then entrepreneurial lifestyle second. Because, actually I digress. Entrepreneur is first. I got into weaving because I grew up in Waianae up in the valley. And we had the manapua man. I don't know if everybody knows what manapua man is, right? And that's where you get your snacks right after school, right? And so instead of sneaking $1 from my mom's purse, I realized that I could learn to weave, sell it at fairs, and then get money for it. And then I knew right quick that I could use that to get manapua man snacks, but also anything else I wanted, right?
So you were doing that since you were a child, or
yeah, about maybe 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been weaving since. My dad tells me, he goes, "Hey, you want to make money?" And I go, "Sure." He goes, "Okay, sit down and I'll teach you how to weave." So he taught me how to weave bracelets and earrings, and then he took me to craft fairs, and a lot of the aunties, they see the young kids there, they're like, "Oh, I'll buy from you," right? And so I'm like, wow, I'm making this money. It was only like maybe $20, but like back then, as $20 is like, wow, it's a lot.
That's a lot.
I can buy a lot of snacks and still have leftover money, right? So from there, I knew I could just make stuff with my hands and sell it. And then later on down the line, I realized that it's culture over profit first. It took me the entrepreneurial side to get into it. And then later on down the line, as he kept me going to different weaving conventions, I got to meet more kumus, which today a lot of them are no longer alive. That's when I realized it's more of a cultural connection versus profit.
It's funny that you say that, because I was just talking in a previous podcast recording about how we shouldn't do things simply for the money. when you start to do things because of the intentionality and the service and the culture,
Yes.
this is something that creates, you're giving who you are. And so it's not just the basket, it's not just the hat, it's the culture that presents, and it shows that grounding. And how does that grounding really, has that helped to mold you into doing so many of the other things that you've done in your life?
I think that the main thing that it's done for me is to create confidence and courage.
Nice.
Because culture, I know that what I'm doing is pono, as we say, or correct. As well as the entrepreneurial side, I also call upon my other ancestors, which is on my Pake side, which is my Chinese side. So I'm Hawaiian, Chinese, Japanese, a mixed plate, if you will, we all like to say, right? But the cultural side on my Chinese side, we're all entrepreneurs as well, too. Like my great-grandfather owned, the cliche Chinese restaurant. I know it's cliche, but still it's good to know that my ancestors were into entrepreneurship. So therefore, what I'm doing is, if it's okay, even though there's people around you that might say, oh, you just value money over culture or whatever's, like the courage and confidence knows that I can bypass that and know that what I'm doing is right in my own mind.
And see, is so uniquely positioned for people to understand that when you're doing something that you love doing, you can do it for free or you can do it for pay, but you love doing it.
Correct.
And to create that mindset that you have of, I have a lineage in my household of entrepreneurship. And to take your life into finding, what do I want to do with that? How do I create that? What have you been doing to really bring that entrepreneurship out in your life?
Well, that was the start, definitely, as a child. But then I just realized that there's many things that comes with entrepreneurship. Like in your book that you said, there's a lot of mindset. Mindset is number one, because if you think you can't do it, then you're not going to explore other avenues that can get you to the next step. You're just going to keep in the dream state where you think like, oh, you wake up and I'm back to normal life. That's how it is. But when you start dreaming and you're putting action to it, now you're creating goals. Now you're going on a path. So with that being said, that's where I realized, okay, what else can I do this on? I did many things throughout my years, Turo, Airbnb, but now I'm currently on mini claw machines. So I have about 10 mini claw machines that we have set up from places from like Ben Franklin's, also to certain boba shops or whatnot, right? I initially got into claw machines because I wanted my 14-year-old daughter, now she's 15. I started that business for her because I wanted her to understand entrepreneurship as well too.
Just like your dad did for you.
Correct.
You're passing it out.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And it also makes her realize she can get what she wants. But as a parent, now that I know I'm a parent, it frees my wallet up. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like I don't have to keep buying stuff for her. I can be like, okay, if you want something from, to eat, do you have money? If you do, now there you go. Or if you're going out with your friends, I would hate for you to be the one that's always mooching money off of your friends when you can support yourself. You know what I mean? And then the extra options, like you said, that it creates freedom. It's not so much we're chasing the dollar. We're chasing freedom. We're chasing opportunity, right?
I love it.
And more opportunity shows, the more we can either use to help others or help ourselves more, But it's your choice.
So that word freedom, what does freedom mean to you in regards to living your life so that you're not feeling as though you're a victim or that you are just a part of society? What does living a life of freedom mean to you?
I think living a life of freedom, I know living a life of freedom is opportunity. That's like the biggest word I can think of to it, because if you don't have finances in order, then you're subject to whatever others around you are going to tell you have to do. That's what's left over. You're not allowed to create your own path. You're not allowed to create your own opportunities. You're not allowed to create, they say like if you don't have opportunity, you go out and find it or you make it yourself. So all these things don't give you enough options to try to find that out for yourself. You're busy struggling really hard to keep up with others versus trying to get ahead of the curve, the bell curve. So now you have a little wiggle room to try to figure out new things.
Right. And so you've had the same struggles as everybody else. You had the job, you have the family, you had all of this responsibility, but yet you have created a mindset to where you still knew that I needed to save time. Yes, I got my job. It's 9 to 5. It's whatever hours I have to work. But so often people have a tendency of saying, well, I don't have time because their job took all of it from them. How have you balanced that out so that once your job is done, now you're working on your freedom?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I started, I was subject to whatever anybody who starts a new job is subject to. You're subject to a certain schedule. You're subject to a certain sleeping pattern. That's probably not by your choice, but that's for a small amount of time. You know what I mean? Because right now I'm 23 years in. I feel like I just started just yesterday. So it goes by in a blink of an eye. So what I realize is that there is a bit of sacrifice in anything that you do, but don't linger on it, because once you go through the patterns, you realize that it is a pattern and you can kind of tweak it along the way. And so I put in the time, I put in my experience, and now I am able to have seniority where I can choose like a country unit, for example. And so I have a little bit more time on my hands. So I'm not gonna waste that time even though I work. I'm gonna bring my other entrepreneurial self with me. So I'll either read a new book, like your book, or many other like Dale Carnegie or Robert Kiyosaki books, right? Not to name drop.
Yep.
But also I'll bring my other stuff. So if I have a weaving order, I'll bring that with me too. So I try to kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone, you know, to try to, while I have the free time and opportunity to do it.
So for a young person like your daughter or someone that's starting out, what type of things can they do so that they may not have to take that 23 years of sacrificing with a job, but they can have their freedom job, their freedom passion start taking over what the job is even paying and move forward faster?
I think starting the kids on a way to be able to support themselves financially is a really good start, because there's a lot of trials and tribulations along that small path. It can be very small. A paper route, you know, if there even is paper routes. You know, we're dating ourselves, right? Paper routes,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
But like I said, like the claw machines gives her something to understand that you have to work for something to get something, right? And then from there, I also tell her, she's in high school now, that you need to see high school as the way to start whatever it is you want to do in the future and utilize the resources there to better you, because you want to hit the ground running when you graduate from high school. When you graduate from high school, I don't want you to be like, oh, now what am I going to do? I want it to be like, okay, I want to try this from freshman year, find resources to better that, tweak it along the way, and by the time you become a senior, you're like ready to go. You know what I mean?
And that's so, I love that. I absolutely love that, because that is so impactful to let young people know you can be working on this stuff. There are young people with technology and everything that we have available to us. There's so many things that we all can do to advance us faster than what we were. And I have this conversation with a lot of people that they look at their parents and they realize, because our parents always are struggling, and myself included, when our kids look at, they're saying, I'm not sure if I want to do what you've done for as long as you've done and still be struggling. And so we have to start opening up these pathways of, to think is to create. You know,
Absolutely.
one of the things that I think is so important to share here is the way that Ke'o and I came together is through this organization called PSI, Professional Success Institute.
Institution, yeah.
And PSI is about creating the proper mindset for success and creating the freedoms that we have for our lives. When you hear the term, to think is to create, how does that impact the things that you have done, and how has that taken you further across your visualization of where you want to go? What are you doing in your life that's implementing and applying to think is to create strategy?
My friend, everything is that. In one word, that's called manifesting in my mind. If you don't think you can be what you want to be, then you're never going to be it. I mean, if you want to take it one step further, you already start telling yourself you are that in present tense, not future tense. Like, if you want to be a millionaire, you say, I am a millionaire. You don't want to say, I want to be one.
Yes.
You say, you are one.
Words have power.
Oh, absolutely. I'll give you an example. My wife, she also went with us. That's we all met, right, in Houston, right? She wanted to become, she has to work at least 10 more years in our department. But I'm going to retire in about a year or so. But we had avenues because, you know, she's getting into her 50s. She already got injured from work a couple times already. And so I said, the only way that you're going to be able to last another 10 to 12 years is if you become a district chief. And this is from when she was just a basic paramedic. And so automatically she made the decision to do it and set her path on there. And now just today was her first day she was a temporary assigned district chief, just today. Over the course of, I want to say, maybe a year. That means she went from a paramedic to being a TA supervisor, got hired as a supervisor, and now she has opportunity to be a TA district chief, which pretty much opens the path to district chief already.
You know I'm going to get her on my show.
Oh, I love it.
You know I'm going to get, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome.
I would love
awesome. That. You know, and I think it's that pathway. So often we think that when we seek out to accomplish a goal, we conceive ideas in our head, and then what happens is we fail to take the inspired action toward those goals. Immediately after conceiving a great idea, we start talking ourselves out of it, number one. And number two, for some reason, we feel that this has to happen immediately. And if it doesn't, then it's not worth it, or I'm gonna quit. Have you ever tried to lose weight? I tell you, every time I go in the gym, and I work out a lot, okay? Every time when I go in the gym, I'm wondering why after I leave that gym, don't I see the results that I would like to have down the line? I want to see them right now, you know? And I could really talk myself out of going tomorrow because, shoot, I don't see no results. I'm just hurting, you know? But the fact of the matter is, it's a process.
Absolutely.
And as we start to understand that process and just apply, one of the key factors is, and we talked about this before, so I want you to comment on it, is the fact that the person that's conceiving the idea, the person that's coming up with this desire to be a division chief or to be an entrepreneur, to be that, is not going to be the person that will accomplish it. Because you will have to change and grow into that person. You're going to, because you come up with this idea at this point here. But in order to get to this other point, there's transformational things that you have to go through.
Absolutely.
And so as you see yourself growing, what are some of those things that are helping you? How are you manifesting and bringing the people into your life and the opportunity and acknowledging them, recognizing them, and being patient with the process?
Man, there's so many different things. Like, I remember Alex Hormozy. He's another one that I love to listen to. He talked about first downs, not touchdowns. He said if you're only trying to think of the touchdown and you get beat up along the way, you're going to give up. But if you can focus on little wins along the way, the first downs, then that's going to it's going to build your confidence, right? And it's going to build your enthusiasm to get to the next first down. So that along the way is another good example that just 5 to 10 yards can be a lot of hurt, can be a lot of struggle. But if you don't give up, right, you got 3 more downs. You don't give up, and you get that first down, bam. We're going to high five. We might have a drink, let's celebrate, but back to the grindstone because we got 10 more yards to go. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I think he just gave you an introduction to his next book. It's going to be called, Go for the First Down. The first down. And that's really what it's about in life. Our goal is to score. Our goal is a touchdown.
Right.
But we have to take one step at a time. Let's get first down.
Our coach used to say nickels and dimes.
Nickels and dimes. It reminds me of a story that I had when I was learning how to golf. And this has stayed with me for so long. The golf pro told me, okay, do you see where you want to go? And there's a flag way down the end of the fairway. There's a flag there. That's your target. And then he said, draw an invisible line from that target to where your ball lies. All right? And then he says, really kind of line that up. Make sure that that's in alignment. This is how you align your life. You have a dream and you have a goal, you have a destination out there.
Right.
And then as you draw that line, this is where I am right now. And then he said, stand parallel to your ball. Look about 10 to 12 inches in front of your ball. and find a twig, a high blade of grass, or something that's in that same alignment. So you got your target out there, you bring it down, and right in front of where that ball is that's in alignment, there's a twig. He said, now just focus on that twig. Stop trying to reach there, but if you focus on getting that ball to go across that twig, that's your target right there, not there. Your target now, where you're focused at, is right in front of you. And so you align your feet, you align your stroke so that when you hit the ball, it goes over that twig. It's going to go in the direction you want to go, just aim for the twig.
Right.
So get your focus sometimes off of that long-term objective. Stop thinking touchdown and think
Correct.
first down.
You know, in a relation to your DPS book that you talk about, I did hear about a GPS similar to that, where they say that just like a GPS, you're gonna punch in your coordinates, and it locks it in. So now forget about that.
That's it.
Get to the first intersection,
That's right.
right? And if you mess up, what does the machine say? It's not gonna call you names. It's not gonna be down on you for it. It's just gonna tell you recalculate in a very
Recalculate.
calm way, and then find the next point of intersection.
That's right.
You know, that's
That's
it.
right.
Simple.
You know, and it's really funny, the whole conception and perception of that DPS is derived from a GPS because it is so similar. It is that same mindset, and everything is mindset. I remember when we used to use maps, and we would have maps up on the steering wheel, and we're trying to drive and look at a map and drive and look at a map. And now we have technology has changed and advanced to where now you have someone that's literally guiding you. You know, and so I wanted my book to be that literal guide. You know, when I would plug, I knew where I wanted to go, but I didn't know how to get there. The GPS would navigate the fastest route. And it allows, like you said, for you to mess up. It allows for you to make mistakes and realize, oh, I should have turned there. Oh, I got another opportunity. There's always going to be opportunities, you know, but you don't take your eyes off the prize.
Right.
You keep going to where you're going. And so your DPS is we have goals, dreams, and desires in our lives that we don't necessarily know how to reach. And so the DPS is that which will guide you to that. And so when in another aspect in the DPS is taking inspired action. What were some of the inspired actions that you took with your businesses and that has propelled you?
I've been in financial business as well too, as a life and health agent, and I think that really helped because I was able to take courses that allowed me to talk to people. You know, like it's so easy in Hawaii to come to some place with like, you know, a real relaxed point of view, or even a relaxed way that you present yourself, you know. And yeah, before, if you saw me like 10 years ago, I would have long hair and a beard and everything, right? But it didn't dawn on me that that's how people can judge you right off the bat, right? And so from there, I understood I need to make myself presentable. And I know people in Hawaii especially, they'll be like, well, why are you judging me? You know what I mean? Why don't you get to know me first? But that's the best way for people to know you, is you get into the front door by looks. And then from there, you talk to people, you have a confident handshake, you remember their name, you have eye contact. These are the things I learned along the way to help my businesses flourish because it now creates trust in them. You know, I mean, I have an unfair advantage where I can gain people's trust as a paramedic in a uniform, presenting the way I'm supposed to present in a short amount of time.
Yes.
But it's a little bit harder when you're not in that paramedic uniform. So I have to still somewhat put on my uniform, present very nice, you know, and then also come in with the greeting, the hellos. My name is, your name is, repeat your name back to you. You know, these are the things I learned along the way in entrepreneurship that really helped me build courage to really talk to anybody. I mean, a lot of my family members call me Mr. Aloha because I'm willing to talk to anybody.
Anybody.
Like, yeah.
That's right.
When we went to Sai, you and I were the top three givers, right?
That's right. That's right. It was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And it's that connection that you're attracting like people to your life. You know, and I always talk about the fact that if you're attracting people that you don't think are that don't reflect what you want to be reflected, it's always an opportunity to take a deeper look inside of yourself, because again, you've attracted that person in your life. You've attracted that energy space in your life. And so it all comes back to working on you. And the biggest thing about being a success in life and really developing the successes that you've even experienced is because you've done work on you. What are, just real quickly, what are some of the things that you found you needed to work on and to improve to be able to be Mr. Aloha?
Humility. Humility is a really big thing, especially in Hawaii. There's a lot of pride, here. And when I mess up, I have to take responsibility for that and be humble about it. And I think that will show a lot of professionalism and the frontal lobe growing out, being an adult.
Yeah.
And saying sorry. There's nothing wrong in saying sorry to somebody and saying it to their face, into their eyes, because I know that they're willing to accept that. People can read body language real easily, and then continue reassuring people that I'm here for you. Even in a lot of my businesses, they say that your paycheck is a direct reflection of how much people you've helped.
Yes.
So yes, definitely helping people is number one before any kind of payment or whatnot.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Your net worth is equivalent to your network.
Absolutely.
And how we tend to network with other people and connect with other people. And really, again, it's that service-oriented mindset that you have that really isn't about how much can I profit or prosper from someone else. It's always about how can I serve more people? How can I serve more? All of that other stuff follows. Well, I'm really excited, man. I appreciate you being here on the show and really demonstrating how you have manifested your DPS and how you continue to be able to thrive in the space of humility and success and progress and love, as Mr. Aloha, and really make a difference in the lives of other people. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. I'm really excited about letting people know who you are and the things that you're doing in society. And most importantly, I'm excited for you being my friend, but also watching you manifest your DPS. And so thanks again. And this is Manifest Your DPS. I can show you better than I can tell you.